Northwestern, off a bye, travels to the 20th ranked USC Trojans. This is a Friday night game, which are some of my favorites, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. USC's favored by 14 and a half points. They have to make the trip across the country. Thankfully, they have a bye, and USC's coming home after a physical, tough game on the road against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So, what's Northwestern's path here? That's really where you have to start, because when you're a 14.5 point underdog, you're clearly not the better team, especially this late in the year. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. Barring something crazy happening, what do you need to do? Well, I can tell you that Northwestern's been in this position before. Playing Penn State on the road as a 3-touchdown underdog, they win 22-21. They beat UCLA at home after UCLA fired Foster, so that was when they were a different team under Skipper and still are. They were able to find a way to beat them. They shut out Purdue 19-0, and they made it interesting against Nebraska. Only a 7.5, 8.5 point dog there, depending on where you looked. Some was even 6.5, but they made it 21-21 at one point and had an interception in Nebraska territory. So this team has been in competitive spots. They've made games competitive. They fight. They're well coached under David Braun. And while this is their second road game in a row, at least they have that bye sandwiched in between there. And I believe this staff is good enough to take advantage of that rest time to potentially pull off what would be a massive upset win here. They also could beat Michigan, Minnesota, or Illinois. They can beat, I think, any of these four teams. They won't beat all of them, but they could beat certainly two of them to finish 7-5. Maybe there's even a world where they beat three of them and finish 8-4. Regardless, I think they do upset one of these teams to finish 6-6. The odds would currently say that team is likely to be Minnesota from a power ratings angle. For the Trojans, USC has not suffered much anxiety when playing at home, beating Michigan 31-13, Michigan State 45-31, Georgia Southern 59-20, and Missouri State 73-13. They, in the month of November, get to finish out with 3 out of their 4 remaining games at home: Northwestern, Iowa, and UCLA, with that trip out to Oregon clearly being circled. This is a must-win. If you lose here, you're out of the playoffs, and there's a good chance you could lose out if you lose to this Northwestern team at home. So, Lincoln Riley and USC, they beat Nebraska, but they need to make sure to rally the troops quickly, make sure they're healthy and that they're well prepared for this Northwestern team, especially since it's one less day of rest and preparation compared to a normal week, and your opponent has a bye on top of that. Looking at the matchup here for the Wildcats and the Trojans, I think that Caleb Komolafe and Martez Lewis and Caleb Tiernan and that offensive line should be able to get some yards and some churn and movement on the ground. I actually like their rushing offense from a consistency angle against this USC rushing defense, which after the really past 3 games, I've begun to view in a different way. I know that in theory they did well against Michigan on the ground, yeah, but that was in part due to Justice Haynes exiting the game, and Jordan Marshall hadn't really hit his stride yet. Did well overall in that game, not discrediting them there, but they didn't completely whip Michigan a D-line to O-line. They won at times, and that combined with beating them through the air in defense and then destroying them offensively really put Michigan in a hole they couldn't get out of. So I think Northwestern, if they can stay within striking distance, should be able to run the ball pretty effectively. USC, though, clearly has the advantages elsewhere. I mean, Northwestern's secondary and defense has gotten more banged up and injured as the season's gone on. Hopefully they've been able to recover and rest and get some guys back over this bye. But USC, as limited as they are in terms of depth at the receiver positions, and Notre Dame and Nebraska were able to exploit that, USC at home is a different team from where they are on the road, and they're not facing Nebraska's secondary or even Notre Dame's. Notre Dame's I don't think is great, but at least they have Leonard Moore, and it was on the road in the rain. It's not going to be the case here. You're going to be at home playing a defense that isn't as talented. You should be able to run the ball pretty effectively. I love USC here to win and to cover. This game reminds me a lot of USC Rutgers last year. Rutgers was coming out, had a run offense edge in theory in terms of against USC's run defense, but things just got out of hand. And even though they made it interesting there in the third quarter, fourth quarter, USC pulled away, won that game by I think 3 scores. Similar to this season's earlier game between USC and Michigan State, I would also say. So the Trojans here are going to win. They are going to cover. For Northwestern and USC, this game is really just impacting their pride. For USC, it's more than that. They're still in the playoff race. But for Northwestern, you're out of the playoff race. You're fighting for pride to secure David Braun's future and your program's future. For USC, it's similar. Because if they lose this game, I'm telling you, there's a good chance they'll lose to Iowa. There's a good chance that they'll lose to UCLA, and you are getting destroyed by Oregon if you cannot beat this Northwestern team. A loss here would take all the oxygen out of the program. It'd be like someone stabbing you like right in your gut with a big sword, not just a knife. And even a close win here would be concerning for USC. But I do think they win and cover. And this late in the year, especially when you're as thin of a team USC is, and you're dealing with some injuries, a win is a win. So USC would expect them to win and cover. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.